Everyone, both in the chamber and in Zoom land there. 4 o'clock on Tuesday, May 18th, 2021. I'd like to call this Personnel Human Services Committee meeting to order, which is, I'll do that. Weird. But I'd like to call it to order, and if we could, take a roll call, please.
Johnson?
Here.
Begic?
Here.
Fox?
Yeah, here.
Coonan?
Here.
Carrick?
Here in Bay City.
Radke?
Here.
Krieger?
Yes.
Quorum present.
All right, thank you. Now the first item, this is the minutes from April 20th's meeting.
I'll move them.
It's been moved and supported, moved by Krieger, supported by Begic. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote is in order.
Begic?
Yes.
Fox?
Yes.
Coonan?
Here. Yes.
Carrick?
Here. Yes.
Radke?
Yes.
Krieger?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, and now comes the time for public input. If we have anyone here that would like to address the committee, now is your time to do so, either in person or on Zoom. There's a phone on the Zoom. I don't see anybody then. So we'll move on then to our petitions and communications. The first petition comes to us from the Bay County Clerk in regards to an elections coordinator position, seeking the establishment of an elections coordinator position. The proposed resolution was attached for your perusal. Is there anyone that with this particular resolution or petition?
I'll make the motion.
Support. Been moved and supported. Moved by Commissioner Fox, supported by Commissioner Begic. Is there any discussion on this particular petition?
Yeah, I have questions, and I apologize for not being able to connect with you prior. I completely understand the need for succession planning and the increased requirements and whatnot, but could you talk about this a little bit more? Because there are some things in here that I don't quite understand. So, do you have comparisons of different size counties that might have this position that may or may not be comparable to us? Do we cross-train? What requirements? How have they increased? I have questions.
I know this is a huge position. I appreciate the board's undertaking the consideration today. There's so many ways to look at this. There are so many aspects to it. If you'll afford me the time, I know you have quite a large agenda, but I put together my presentation, which is in front of you, that, in following the little background that I provided with the letter, the letter tells you where we've been and where we're going. So I don't know if you want me to read the letter into the record or we're happy with that. If you just give me a minute for those viewing, I just assume do a little bit of the background by reading the letter and then going into some more details if you don't mind. So I have an election commission of the county who met in January, consisting of Shauna Walraven, the treasurer, and Dan Miner, the probate judge, who concurred that at this point in time, an elections coordinator position should be warranted. We have demands with our elections now that warrant consideration of this position, and I would consider posting, advertising, filling it. Many counties throughout the state employ at least one election official, if not a department. So when we look at closest to us, Midland County, there's a gentleman in Midland County, his name is John Kiefer. He's the election coordinator / chief deputy who handles all of the election related duties. It's a salary of approximately $80,000 a year. So he acts in Midland County. In Genesee County, there's a department of 4 people because they're a larger size county. So it just depends on the size of the county and the demands election wise, because not every election year is the same, of course. It's come to the point where it's not only a general election and a primary election every year. This year in particular, which is supposed to be an off year, I have a recall election in May. I have a school election in May, a recall in August, ISD school election in June, and the November cities election. So I still have 4 elections even in this odd year, which shouldn't be the case. But it seems like in Bay County, we're having elections every time there's a state statute mandated election day. Where we used to have an odd year and off year, that's not been the case now for years in Bay County. Coming up in this fall, we're going to be reapportioning the county off. That process is going to start in September when the census numbers are released. So that involves a panel which consumes quite a bit of time. It's a process that takes approximately 2 months. We reapportion the county based on the population once we see the census numbers released. And that consumes my time, the treasurer's time, the prosecutor, also Democratic and Republican Party chairs. So we're drawing maps and redistricting the commission districts at that time. So that process is coming up as we start to prepare for the 2022 governor's election next year. And in all reality, the county clerk's office is pretty much still recovering from last year's elections. We had the presidential primary in March. We had an August primary, we had the November general election, and the year-long tasks last year included, starting January 1, installation of a firewall and cradle point operation systems, starting off in the year to prepare for November. We also upgraded our modeming system to the 5G Verizon network, so that took some coordination, took a lot of effort with our IT people and the clerk's office and the election system staff to pull that off. We reconfigured polling places, we upgraded hardware, we complied with the CDC measures last year. I found myself delivering state-issued PPEs to all of the voting precincts prior to each election last year with the IT van that we had on staff. We trained over 500 election workers in Bay County. And due to the COVID restrictions, we couldn't put more than 30 persons in a room for training. The months of June and July last year were consisting of training day, numerous sessions every day.
How many extra days did that turn out to be?
Pretty much 2 whole months of training.
Right, but what would it have been normally? 2 days, 1 day?
Normally I would put 75 people in a room. Normally it would be maybe 8 days of training.
Okay.
And we do a good training. We do the law, the regulations, we do hands-on, we do equipment, we bring in all of the workers. We have different sessions for our new persons that take 4 hours as opposed to our regular workers, which take a shorter amount of time. They're more familiar with everything. We just present the changes to them in the laws. So the trainings are different. We like to conduct them at each township or city hall. We monitor township workers. We'll go to monitor for the trainings. They have a nice hall. Williams Township has a nice hall. We move around the county. We take the equipment. We spend a lot of time training our workers. We launched an initiative last year to attract new workers, more workers. We started in February with that endeavor, and lucky thing we did have a class in February for new workers, because when the COVID hit in March and we had, the presidential primary election, our workers who are older did not want to work at this exposure. They had their persons in their home that are, husband had a heart condition, had respiratory condition, did not want to come out and expose their family members. Many of them were on vacation. They're snowbirds. They weren't coming home. They couldn't leave the state of Florida for a while. So we were short workers for elections right from the get-go last year. We were short from March on till August. We had another bunch drop off. People were dropping off to work even election morning. They called up and said, in Bangor Township, she had a major problem because she had an absentee county board, which she needed a number of people for, and half of them called in saying, we're too afraid to come out because of COVID. Real situations with workers this year that we had to address. Even as much as in Auburn City, the Friday before our election in November, I was called and said, city manager has COVID, city clerk has COVID, the treasurer has COVID, city council members are not allowed on the scene. Here's the keys. We're gonna, you open up the door, get all the equipment ready, turn on the lights, get ready for the election. We have nobody that can be here from the city. So they had people come in, disinfect all weekend, and I physically conducted the Auburn City election out there with whatever we had available. I did a good job, put, it was like 1,200 people through the door, wiping down every station after every voter, addressing the people in line so they could pre-register and be prepared when they came into the facility, getting people out as quickly as possible, bringing them in one door and out the other door. I mean, it was a last-minute major undertaking in Auburn City, but again, pulled that off. We felt the effects of Proposal 3 last year, the November election, with same-day registration. You know, our registration numbers of voters are up from approximately 82,000 to 88,000 persons at this time following the November election. And our processes just seem to become more and more complicated with every election, and more and more demands put on us as proposed by the legislature and the Secretary of State. It's no surprise to you. It's nothing that you're unfamiliar with, that our election process gets more and more scrutiny every day. We've been fortunate in Bay County to have some pretty flawless elections, but last year there came a situation where there was a transposition of a name on a ballot. It could have really significantly cost us countywide in ballot production because ballots had been printed to the tune of maybe $60,000. Ballots had been mailed from the jurisdictions. Absentees could have cost another chunk of money. This $70,000 I have cited here is probably a lowball estimate, because had Judge Clyda wanted her name spelled correctly on that ballot and the I and the L not transposed, she could have made that request and the county would have been responsible for those costs. She, in the regard for the taxpayers, let that go. And quite frankly, really, people didn't really notice, but she was willing to let that go. Mr. Cooney, do you have a question?
How did that misspelling of the name get on the ballot without being overseen?
We do not have an answer, because we proofread that ballot. We proofread every letter, every name, every position, every rotation. We make a copy of the sample ballot to send to you. It's sometimes not as good a quality on the copy of the proof ballot that we send you. You've seen them yourself. We did not see it in the clerk office. Judge Clyda herself did not see the error, signed off on her ballot as the name being correct. Went to the ballot printer. I mean, it probably went through 6 people who would have reviewed those names, and no one caught it, because the I and the L looked so much alike in a copy, in a print, in a PDF sample that we work from. So that could have really compromised our reputation. It could have been on the front page of the paper for that.
You were.
Well, it could have been a worse scenario for us. We did not end up in court over the situation, at least. With that being said, this employee would not only monitor the technical side of the election process, but also the filing requirements, Campaign Finance Act compliant forms. You all have complied with the campaign finance regulations in the past, so you know what that entails. It's a lot of work. This person would know ballot production standards, would also become familiar with recount and recall work. The State Bureau of Elections offers training. Most of the training would be in the office to learn the nuances of every different type of election. I would do my best to train that person while they're on site, just because the best way to learn this elections is to be doing the elections, to be putting on the election, to be troubleshooting, to learn how it gets set up. Mr. Coonan.
Someone asked you the question and you responded that the Midland Deputy Clerk is responsible for the election process, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't you appoint your deputy to?
Well, Commissioner Coonan, if you don't mind me going into some other details about the office, I can probably justify that. I really need that chief deputy at the counter. We have the demand at our counter that warrants 3 people that I have there. We have been in some uncharted waters here. Times have changed for our office. There is a whole new dynamic there. And my deputy knows a good portion. She's fairly new, but she doesn't take the responsibility or have learned all of the we're looking for somebody too that's more technologically advanced. These computer systems have become so sophisticated now that, you know, there are 3 levels of security before I can even get into the system. There are 3 verifications before you can even open up the computer to try to do anything. We moved the server from the 8th floor of this building down to the 1st floor so we can more easily talk to the server and set the election up with the county server. And that involves a lot of, you know, file renaming, file copying, file zipping, file unzipping. You know, our IT people have been great. Joni from our IT department does her best. But a lot of it is proprietary, sole source, vendor protected. So oftentimes we have to work with the vendor and they're charging us fees. They charge us a lot. They charge us cost. They charge us for on-site support. Sure.
Thank you, Cindy. So the vendors, they actually do a lot of the programming and stuff already?
We do.
Okay. And, you know, hats off for being flexible enough to get everything through with the COVID. And I realize all the work that your department has done in the past. And so we're talking about a position for in the future, and heaven forbid to go through this again. So I would think that in the future, all of these demands that you had to deal with in the past should, and as we go to into the future.
Yeah,
But we don't know.
I would hope, Ernie, but then we're feeling the effects of other mandates throughout the country right now. So if you want to look at the yellow page,
Well,
I'll go down to this.
We just got the yellow page.
Right, right. So I appreciate it if you give me a few more minutes to go through this because
Sure.
all of the mandates from other federal and state agencies are trickling down to us without any regard for us in the clerk vital record section of the state. So the current office, and again, we've remained open during the whole year through COVID. We've provided services. We've tried to promote services more so by mail. Our services on the internet are just exacerbating. The requests of records we're processing over the internet. You know, my new gal in the office is spending a couple hour and a half every morning processing requests off the internet that come in every single day. So we're trying to make changes in our office. We're trying to be more efficient. We're trying to manage the office. We've reduced our public hours from 9 to 12 and 1 to 4. So from 8 to 9 and 4 to 5, we're behind the scenes getting caught up in doing what we need to do because the influx of demand has just been that great that it's taking all 4 of us right now to just keep ahead of the vital records and the gun permits in our daily work. We thought the Real ID Act had an October 2020 deadline, and that's been extended. Anyone who wants to travel and go through the Secretary of State to get the star on their driver's license. And we were dealing with these women, especially females, who need to show the changes in their name, coming down to our office for numerous marriage licenses, numerous divorce records, to show the tracking of their name to be compliant with the Real ID Act. We now have Social Security and other verifications for everything that they do. Maybe known to you, maybe not known to you, the Social Security Office, Secretary of State Office, Federal Record Office have computers that are all hooked together. They verify a person's identity on all 3 levels. So if your driver's license is wrong, you cannot, if your name is in your driver's license, you cannot get through the system. If one of these 3 components are erroneous, there's a process that you have to take to fix your name, to fix your record. And we're dealing with that every day because there's so many errors in the records over the years. You know, a number of records are handwritten. So it may have looked like an I or it may have looked like an E. So the record was typed erroneously. People are paying now every time a record has to be fixed $50 and coming to us the $50 fee to the state of Michigan to fix records. We are fixing records. That's all they want. People are saying, hey, my social security won't pay out. My record is wrong. I take your driver's license because my record is wrong. The vital records office says my record is wrong. So we're dealing with that on a large scale basis right now because these computers are all hooked together. Social Security has other increased retirement claims because of COVID. Many healthcare workers, many teachers, they're like, we're just going to retire. We don't want to be in the COVID environment. We just want to retire. They're bombarded with claims and require records from us. Secretary of State again, scrutinizing licenses. We're performing additional statistical data, which we did not do in the past before. We're working with the Bay Area Mental Health Authority to provide statistics. We also work with our medical examiner closely to monitor records, the COVID cases in our records that we have, that the medical examiner has completed. And we're also dealing with a lot of other mental health authorities, see how COVID has affected the mental health of persons, and we're keeping statistics in that regard too and reporting for other people. Our death certificate numbers are up, as you can see, 2019, 1,514 deaths, 2020, 1,697 deaths, and in 2021, we're already up to 680 deaths. So our death certificate numbers, the number of death certificates that we're processing is increasing. FEMA's also come out with the program. So now we're meeting the requirements of the FEMA, along with meeting the requirements of the Real ID Act, and the Secretary of State, and Social Security, and all these other agencies. FEMA comes out with a program to reimburse persons for a COVID death up to $9,000 if COVID is on their death certificates. And now we're generating more death certificates for those persons filing those claims. So that has been a significant impact for us. We continue to see numbers of our weapons permits increase. Again, some statistics for you. 2019, 1,304. 2020, 1,629. And in 21, already up to 750 weapons permits office. It's a different climate. It's a different environment. And more people are filing. Saw a big jump in 2020. We were afraid of the presidential status. You know, there was people were afraid during the presidential election of their gun rights. So that's why we saw a 300 plus increase in it in 2020, as far as I'm concerned. The CARES Act has also afforded the expungement of criminal records. We're dealing right now into looking into producing copies of criminal records from the 60s, from the 70s, from the 80s, from the 90s. This right now is something that we can hardly keep our heads above water because so many people are qualifying for this benefit under the CARES Act. Mail or internet records are on the rise. We started credit card services. Great for us. We started credit card services. In April, we generated $4,400 in 1 month alone in credit card services. So far in May, we're up to $3,100. People are excited about the credit card abilities, able to get their record charge on credit card. It's hard to determine if this would have been business that we would have already gotten or additional business, because it's just new to us and we haven't had a chance to review that. But again, more services, more revenue, busier at the clerk counter. We really noticed the shortage when we have staff member on vacation or someone is off sick. We're down to 3 persons, 3 bodies, answer the phone, accommodate all these other requests. We've also had a significant number of persons coming in for their business assumed names and filing new business assumed names because of the PPE, Paycheck Protection Act, Paycheck Protection Plan through the SBC loans and grant money that small businesses are getting. So that's keeping us busy. And in addition, District Court is now providing wedding ceremonies. They're closed for wedding ceremony services, and I've done 14 weddings in the last probably 6 weeks for persons in situations in Bay County that need to become wed. Page 2, when I talk about the position being requested at the recommendation of Tiffany Jerry, she's saying it should be a B Camps PD06 with a salary of $43,721 to $50,232. You're following along with me and those in the Zoom land who didn't see this handout. Again, we have more and more scrutiny of the election process.
Cindy, if I could just ask a question. So with the scale of an 06, do you already have, I know that you talked about this person having to have certain skill levels to be able to come in. Do you already have somebody in mind for this position?
No, I do not.
So,
No, I do not.
okay.
I put this together with Tiffany Jerry. This is what she recommends for, again, the qualifications we're going to talk about here in just a minute. I do not have any B camps persons in my office, or steelworkers.
So
This would be a more professional, confidential, security degree. I'd like a political science degree, a lot of computer, a lot of,
there isn't anybody in mind then to fill this position?
And there's no position description yet?
we were able to start putting that together. We've been working on that. But a lot of the credentials I've listed here, the technological aspect of this, they'd have to be proficient in computers. They need to be able to, be considered a confidential employee, a security employee, have a political science degree. They would take the accreditation through the Bureau of Elections, and I've provided that for you to see what all that entails.
I got a question on the confidential. It's a union position.
Yes,
Well, union position's not confidential.
well, we might have to revisit that then. If the B camps, this is a B camps union, not a steelworkers union, so I can consult with Tiffany Jerry in that regard. This is a starting point for us. I don't even know if we can get somebody for this amount of money with all of the credentials that we're looking for. So it's a starting point.
Mr. Chairman, I thank you for your time. I'd still like to refer this, give us an opportunity to review this and get some additional information and revisit it next month. So I make a motion to refer.
Mr. Coonan has made a motion to refer.
Support.
Mr. Krieger has supported. Is there any discussion?
I have another question. Do you cross-train your current staff?
Yes,
You do?
yes,
Okay.
yes,
So this position, you're looking at 5 days a week,
yes,
12 months a year,
Yes.
every year, doing election things?
yes. Because we have the demand in the office for this position. They'll be taking in filings. They will take in filings, review petitions, check petition signatures, review the campaign finance. There's a lot of other work beside just election day. It's getting ready. It's sending out all of the proof ballots. There's just so much to know about this. There's so much to know about Bay County in particular. Somebody needs to learn which precincts are Bay City school districts, which precincts are Pinconning school districts, and which are both.
Well, I
This
hear you
just can't be
toggle
me.
between the work in the office versus this position, and it's kind of getting all mixed together for me, so I wasn't sure what your vision was.
Well, because of the demands of the office, I need people there, which this person would, taking the election part, would take that off of the rest of us to conduct all of this next year, going into a big election year. And this would afford me time to train that person, is what I would really like to do. We need to be looking down the road here. There's so much to know on these ballot production standards. The state tells us, you have to know the difference between a city primary, a regular primary, and a presidential primary. These ballots are all different. They're all set up a different way, totally different way. There's special elections, recall elections. This ballot is down to the font size and which letters are capital and which letters are lowercase. There's so much to this to learn. This person would have to learn our voting precincts. They would have to know the commission districts. They could participate in this redistricting process. We also have water boards in Bay County. We are the county in Michigan with the most water boards. So even though our ballots are broken down, federal, state, local, township, cities, college, we have another layer of division for water boards. So in Bangor Township, you might be a Bangor Monitor Water Board, you might be no water board. In Cuckholland, you might be it's hard to configure. It's hard to know which water boards are with which precincts because we're breaking down those ballots again. We have a general election in Bangor Township. I think there's 8 different ballots because of these water boards and the water. Certain people only vote on this water board district, so they have to get that ballot prepared for them. In Fraser Township, there are people that get a different ballot if they're in the Fraser Water District than those who are not in the Fraser Water District. So Fraser Township gets 2 ballots. Monitor gets a number of split ballots. This campaign finance reform too, that law is a whole different alleyway too. And in the last page, it talks about the financials, if we can just for a moment. I know there's motion on the floor. This is how we take in our collections. You can see we are a revenue generating department. These statistics show you what we're taking in. Concealed weapons permit is our largest moneymaker for the service, and we're already at 715 permits to date. This shows some of the election vendor expenses that we would save. The credit card services, I anticipate being a huge moneymaker for us, whether new or existing business, yet to be determined. The county is going to pass this resolution to be taking in $20 million over a 3-year period under the American Rescue Plan. Some of this should trickle down to departments that are feeling the pain of the requirements of all these other state agencies, and that would be us in the clerk's office. I've confirmed with Jan Heisted in the finance department that the general fund can support this. If you had to go out and pay for training otherwise with someone else beside me providing this training next year, hands-on in an election year, a not so busy election year, before we get to the 4-year, that is very busy. I mean, this is a good time to bring somebody in to start learning this now. And, each election day is its own challenge. I've been here a lot of years and I see things in each election that are new, that are challenging, that are things we've not dealt with in the past. Elections are just not easy anymore. They are just not easy. They are very complicated. They are very sophisticated. We cannot risk our reputation. And you and I have all seen the person driving down the road with a cell phone in one hand and a hamburger in the other. I mean, it's not to say, I have too much knowledge that I only have, and someone else needs to learn all of this. It's just, I thank you for your time. I really do thank you for your time. Feel free to contact me. I know you have a big agenda. I know you have a motion, Commissioner Coonan. Yeah, the time has come that this needs to be seriously looked at. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Coonan, did you have something you wanted to say? I thought I saw your hand up for a second.
Motion to refer.
So there's a motion to refer. Any other discussion?
Question, are we referring to administration or referring to the clerk's office for more information? Who are we referring to?
You can refer it to me too. I used to be in the clerk's office.
Refer it to our financial analyst to answer any questions that we may have on this.
I'll support.
So there's a motion to refer to the financial analyst to look through the details.
More time to look at this.
And it's supported by Commissioner Krieger.
Correct.
Any discussion on this particular motion? And then a roll call vote.
Coonan,
Yes.
Clerk,
Yes.
Radke,
Yes.
Krieger,
Yes.
the gift,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, moving on. Our next petition comes from the Health Department in regards to an agreement with the Northeast Michigan Community Services Agency.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Coonan,
Support.
supported by Commissioner Krieger. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, a roll call vote is in order.
Clerk,
Yes. Is my sound on?
Yes.
Yes.
Radke, Krieger,
Yes.
the gift,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Coonan. Johnson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Our next petition also comes from the Health Department. This is in regards to independent contractor agreements. Seeking approval of these particular agreements with some of our nurses.
So moved.
It is moved by Commissioner Coonan,
Support Radke.
supported by Commissioner Radke. It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion on this particular petition? Seeing none, a roll call vote is in order.
Radke.
Yes.
Krieger.
Yes.
Begic.
Yes.
Fox.
Yes.
Coonan.
Yes.
Eric.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, moving on. Our Personnel Director has a variety of vacancies that she's petitioning for. 911 Central Dispatch, Sheriff is looking for some positions, Department on Aging, Office of Criminal Defense, and the Health Department is also looking for a secretary.
So moved.
It's moved by Commissioner Fox, supported by Commissioner Begic. It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, a roll call vote is in order, please.
Krieger.
Yes.
Begic.
Yes.
Fox.
Yes.
Coonan.
Yes.
Eric.
Yes.
Radke.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, our next petition comes in regard to an increase in wages for the Pinconning Park Rangers. The proposed resolution is there for you to peruse.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and supported by Commissioner Krieger and then supported by Commissioner Coonan. Any discussion?
Yes. Thank you,
Commissioner Krieger.
So Kristen, everybody's struggling to bring in employees. They're all working against different wage scales. I know that these rangers that we're talking about, they're part-timers, correct?
They are seasonal. So some work part-time hours, some work a little bit more than that, but they only can work for so many months a year.
Okay. And when I look at the pay that we're trying to attract these people coming into, I think we need to look as a board at what these pay scales are going forward so that, you're not going to be struggling to bring in these individuals to help support the park. I know Pinconning Park is really a diamond in the rough, and a lot of work's been done out there, and I think we need to make sure that we continue to have the quality that we've got. So hopefully you'll put a program together for us.
Yes, I think even though this is a very small bump in pay, it'll help keep the staff that we were able to attract for this summer. It's also important that we staff all the hours of the day. We staff from early in the morning till about 11 o'clock at night to capture all of the revenue coming in for people using day passes or boat passes and things of that nature. So if we don't have enough staff, we're not going to be capturing the revenue either. So I think this is it's a small amount of money, but it will definitely help in today's climate where it's very, very hard to attract people for this type of employment.
Okay.
Commissioner Fox, did you have comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I was at the park the end of April for the shoreline cleanup and had spoken with the park ranger who he said the first time since he's been there, he's had a help wanted sign there, and they at this point cannot compete with the local fast food restaurants because they're all starting at a higher wage than what we can offer. And he expressed concern about staffing and park hours and even the upkeep of the park with limited staff.
Yes, yeah, it is true that the local is bringing people at a starting wage higher than we are able to.
Commissioner Coonan.
Tagging on to what Commissioner Fox said, I think the economy that we're in right now with the coronavirus is pushing us to a wage, a living wage. And we need to be cognizant of that here as well, because you do look at some of the wages. And maybe some of these are people that are retired, just subsidizing their income and can take the current wages as, because it's just a part-time retirement job, but not many people can live off some of the incomes that are here. And, if I could just, while I'm talking, if I could just, and I know we got some issues with human resources, but every month we have 911 central dispatch on there, looking to hire more people. They can't keep them for whatever reason. Chances are it's the wages. And I still think that you're better off if you paid a higher wage and you kept people there versus continually training new people time and time again. So at some point, I drive down, Wilder Road, and one of the hamburger joints got people starting at $13 an hour. We're going to get to a living wage at some point. Nobody wanted to give it to people, but what we're going through and what businesses are experiencing today, we're going to get to a living wage sooner rather than later. So that's something that we may have to consider as well when we look at some of these positions.
Any other discussion? I did note that when reading through the particular agenda, you made mention of the vacancies with the personnel director. And I think there was one position with the sheriff's department that was yet not filled as well. When they listed theirs, these had come up before and they'd still not been able to fill one. So I'm sure there's an awful lot to be said for exactly what you were that point you were both making. Any other discussion? Good, then a roll call vote.
Duget,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Herrick,
Yes.
Radke,
Yes.
Krieger,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
motion carried.
On our next, our next petition is a waiver of entry-level pay for a health department lab technician. I believe this is in regards to someone who could possibly have 10 years of experience as it was listed. Was that moved by Commissioner Coonan?
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Fox. Well, it's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? If not, then I guess a roll call vote is in order.
Fox,
Yes.
Coonan,
Yes.
Herrick,
Yes.
Radke,
Yes.
Krieger,
Yes.
Duget,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, that is the end of our petitions. Do we have any referrals today? Commissioner Coonan?
Well, it's not a referral. Joel's here. At some point, whether it's under referral or under new business, maybe we could get a little input from Joel.
Certainly.
The circumstances going on.
Should we wait till we get to like a miscellaneous? Or
There you go.
There we go.
I like to raise my hand.
I appreciate it. It gives me something to do up here and keeps me sharp. All right. No referrals. We'll move on to unfinished business. I see none. Any new business? Any new business out in Zoom? Nope. All right, so we'll move on to miscellaneous, and now would be a great opportunity for Mr. Coonan to ask.
Yeah, Joel, are you there?
I'm here, Mr. Coonan.
Can you give us some information?
Sure, absolutely. First, we'll go over the cases. The number of cases really has started to drop to the level that we like. Today we had 12 cases over yesterday. We were averaging between 30 and 40 cases less than 2 weeks ago. So our test positivity rate, the 7-day test positivity rate has dropped substantially. It's about 11% now. We want to see that below 5%. Ideally, we want to see it below 1%, but we are on the way there. So if we can continue down this path, that's great. we have about 55% of our total, or excuse me, 52% of our total population that has been vaccinated. About 55% of the total adult population has been vaccinated. And for a while there, up until the beginning of April, we had high demand for vaccines. And then kind of in congruence with the temporary shutdown of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, we saw a significant slip like they did all over Michigan and the United States with demand. But that demand is starting to pick up again for a couple of different reasons. Number one, the CDC has approved that the Pfizer vaccine can be used on adolescents 12 to 15. So we've had a lot of activity with parents bringing in their children, and that's a very good sign. The second good sign is with the CDC recommendation to eliminate the mask mandates for fully vaccinated persons. So that actually has made people think, if they were on the fence, whether or not that they should get vaccinated. So we've started to see a slight uptick in the number of people that are getting vaccinated, and we hope to see more and more people get vaccinated. So to help that out, we've been meeting with a number of community agencies and community representatives, including McLaren, Great Lakes Bay Health Center, the Community Foundation, the Chamber of Commerce, the United Way, the ISD, City of Bay City, and a number of other different organizations. And we are spearheading together this drive to vaccination event for this week, which is happening on the 20th, the 21st, and the 22nd. So rather than just have our normal clinics that occur here and at Great Lakes Bay Health Center and other places in the community, county residents can go. There is going to be actually 8 different clinics that are taking place. So on Thursday, in addition to our clinic, which takes place from 3 to 7 p.m. here at the health department, Delta College and the health department will be at Apostolic Life Church on Midland Road. And on Thursday and Friday from 11 till 2, Great Lakes Bay Health Center is going to be at Bay City Academy. They are going to be featuring the Moderna vaccine. On Friday, we'll be at the Pinconning Community Center from 11 till 2. And we will also be at St. Hyacinth with some volunteers from McLaren from 11 till 2 as well. And then on Saturday, in addition to our normally scheduled clinic from 9 till noon at the community center, McLaren and the health department and others will be at the Delta College Planetarium. So in addition to this, to get people motivated, the Community Foundation and the Chamber of Commerce were able to secure some prizes, including a 2-year lease on a 2021 Buick Encore, a $500 gift certificate, and other things like iPads and things like that. There's estimated to be over $18,500 in prizes. I want to emphasize these prizes were procured and paid for by the Community Foundation and the Chamber of Commerce. No federal, state, or tax money was used at all on these prizes. This is the community coming together saying that vaccines are important, this COVID vaccines are important, and we want to get as many people in Bay County vaccinated as possible. So to enter for this, you can, number one, obviously get your vaccine this weekend, or 2, you can drop off. It's open to anybody over the age of 18 that's a Bay County resident, and you can drop off registration form at one of the sites there, or you can actually go online on our website to a link that the Community Foundation has where you can do an online registration as well. So it's we're hoping to get at least 1,800 local residents vaccinated this weekend. We hope to see more. We hope that by the beginning or by Memorial Day that we are well over that 60% range. And we're hoping that by the 4th of July that we are at 70%.
Thank you, Joe.
I had a question. I saw this online yesterday, and it says if you've had the shot, you can also put your name in the registration, or do you
That
have
is-
to?
That is correct. Yep.
If you've had it already.
18,
I'm in.
resident of Bay County, and just get a COVID vaccine.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Joel. Any other questions? All right, anything else?
No,
Yeah.
I just like to take a moment to thank Joel Strauss publicly here at this meeting for the tremendous job he and the staff are doing in helping us get to the finish line here in Bay County. We're going to be dealing with this virus for a while, but if we can contain it and return to a sense of normalcy by midsummer or early fall, I think our residents will really appreciate the leadership that Joel has shown and the dedicated staff that he's working with to convince everyone that vaccination is a way to end the virus here in Bay County, across the state, and across the country. So thank you, Joel, for a phenomenal job.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Question for our county executive about the state of emergency. Are we going to keep the state of emergency till July 13th, or any plans to shorten it?
Oh, the only impact that the state of emergency has is allowing remote, both for the public, because some of the townships have very small halls and may not be able to socially distance. However, I'll take a look at that issue. And would you like to see it discontinued? Ron?
That Auburn was at their pavilion, so they were all together. So some of the smaller townships and cities are starting to get together again. They were all together.
Yeah, it's of course their option. They can meet either remotely or in person. But if we want to drop the state of emergency order, that'd be fine with me. We did it at basically the request of local municipalities throughout Bay County. About 3/4 of them were supportive and 25% weren't.
Your call.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Executive Barsha. And I'd like to echo the thank you to Joel, you and the people that working with the health department. I know they've been putting in crazy hours doing all kinds of work that goes beyond what they ordinarily would. So amazing stuff. Any announcements?
Memorial Day, I have the schedule here. I had a request for the schedule for all the activities. The county buildings at 9:15 on the 31st. Different cemeteries, Vietnam Vets Memorial, 10:45. The Veterans Memorial Park, 1 o'clock. U.S. Edson at 2 o'clock. So I'll pass it out. It'll probably be in the paper too. Come on out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Begich. I'll get my copy. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as most of you know, we had recently a kennel cough go through our animal shelter, and we, as Mr. Barsha talked on last week, we've had an influx of animals coming into the shelter. So as we're going to look at doing an adoption event in June, more information will be coming. I will certainly share that with the commissioners and make it as a further announcement, but we are planning on doing an adoption event coming up. So thank you.
Thank you, Craig.
Move to adjourn. Support.
It has been moved and supported. Motion to adjourn. And I don't hear any discussion. So I guess we'll go with a roll call vote.
Luna,
Yes.
Carrot,
Yes, yes, yes. Yes.
Waiver,
Yes.
Krieger,
Yes.
Begich,
Yeah.
Fox,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Motion carried.